guys, it's Amélie, and today I'll be sharing with you guys my April TBR. So April is actually a very special month in the booktube community because it is the Owls Readathon hosted by G over at Book Roast. So for those of you who are not familiar with this readathon, I will leave the link in the description box down below to the announcement video that G posted on her channel. She explains everything about this readathon, so if you're not very familiar with the concept, I will leave the link in the description box and you can just go watch her video for more information. So in this readathon, we will actually be taking our Owls exam as if we were in Hogwarts, hence the shirt. So this year, G really outdid herself and she decided to create this Readathon career booklet. So basically we all have to choose a career and we'll be pursuing this career path, and all of the owls that we need to take in order to get to that career are described in this booklet. So personally, I chose Librarian. So this is a career that I will be pursuing this year. So this might not be a surprise for some of you guys because if you were not aware, I'm actually currently working part-time at my local library. So I guess that my mogul job is also a librarian, so I just thought that it was fitting to choose librarian for my wizarding career. So in order to become a librarian, I will of course need to take my Ancient Runes exam, which means that I'll be reading a retelling, and for that I chose Once Upon a Dream by Liz Braswell. This is the second book in the Twisted Tale series, and as you guys may remember if you watched my Disney 24-hour readathon that I did last year, I bought this book initially for that readathon and I never got around to reading it. But I'm very excited for this one because it's a twisted tale of Sleeping Beauty. So it says on the cover, what if the Sleeping Beauty never woke up? What I get from the synopsis is that the prince doesn't wake up Aurora. So she has to wake herself up in order to break the curse. And I just think that this is such an interesting concept. I'm very excited. And while I wasn't a big fan of the first book in the series, which was A Whole New World, and it followed Aladdin and Jasmine, I have very low expectations I guess for this one because Aladdin is one of my favorite Disney movie, and I guess I had really high expectations because of that. But Sleeping Beauty never was one of my favorite movies. I mean, it's fine, but it's not one of my favorite Disney movies. So my expectations for it aren't as high. However, I feel like the concept is really interesting, so hopefully I will enjoy this one. The next exam that I will have to take is Artmancy, and that's a work written by more than one author. So I decided to pick Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I've been wanting to read that book for a while now, and when I found out that Olivia at Lib Reads a Latte and Jake at Jake Does Books were hosting a readathon for Jay Kristoff and this series was part of it, I was like, okay, I'm in, I'm participating. So I will be reading this first book in the series during this readathon. Illuminae is like a sci-fi book. I don't know much about the plot of it. I just know that it's like told in case files, which I think is super interesting, and I love this format. I think it's going to be a very quick read because of that. I've been told that I should listen to the audiobook while reading the book, so I've ordered the book. It's not here yet, but I will also be listening to the audiobook at the same time, hopefully. So I'm very excited. I've heard great things about this series, so I hope I will enjoy it as much as everyone else does. The next exam that I will be taking is Defense Against the Dark Arts, and that's Reducto, a title that starts with an R. So I've decided for that challenge to read an arc because I'm trying to get through my arcs. So I'm going to be reading Romanov by Nadine Brandes. I've been told that this is a retelling of Anastasia, and while I don't really know much about Anastasia, honestly, I think I watched the movie once, but I don't really remember it. I'm also very excited for this because I mean it's set in Russia, it has a fantasy element, I think it has a betrayal involved. I'm just very excited. The synopsis sounded super interesting and I'm super excited to read this one. This book will be out on May 7th, by the way. Of course, I wouldn't be a librarian if I didn't take History of Magic, so for that I need to read a book that's been published over 10 years ago, and let me tell you guys, this was a hard one to choose because I didn't really own anything that was published over 10 years ago. I didn't want to buy any books for this readathon, so I was kind of stuck. And then I remembered that one of my goals for 2019 was to read more classics, and more specifically more Jane Austen novels, like all of her work. And so far I've read a grand total of 0 classics and 0 Jane Austen novels. So I was like, you know what? It's time for me to do that. So I will be reading Sense and Sensibility from Jane Austen. So this is part of a Jane Austen anthology. This contains all of her work. So I remember reading Sense and Sensibility about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that, in high school. So I cannot wait to revisit this story because I remember not really loving it, not as much as Pride and Prejudice, but you know, I might feel differently this time around. So I'm very excited to dive back into it and read this classic. And of course, this was published like over 200 years ago, so it counts. The last exam that I need to take is Transfiguration, and that's a book with either sprayed edges or a red cover, and personally I chose a red cover, and I will be reading Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I actually don't know anything about the plot of Vicious. I think it's like experiments about superpowers. We have like two best friends or two enemies. I'm not sure about that. But I've heard amazing things about this book. It is adult fiction. This series is really hyped. Victoria Schwab is a very hyped author here on BookTube, and I just thought that it was about time that I finally read this, and I'm just very excited. I know it's a really beloved series, duology actually, and I'm just very excited to read this one. I finally have an excuse to read it, so I'm gonna do it. So that's it for my magical readathon TBR. If you guys are interested in finding out what I think about these books or just seeing how I'm doing with this readathon in general, I will be vlogging all throughout the month of April, so I will be doing weekly vlogs here on my channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you don't want to miss anything. But since this is a pretty short TBR, I feel like I can read more than that in a month. I'm going to present to you guys other books that I'm planning on reading during the month of April. Those won't be as much of a priority as the ones that I just showed you guys for the magical readathon. However, if I have time to get to them, that would be great, and I'm actually reading some of them for a video that I'm planning on doing on my channel, so I couldn't fit them into the readathon. I don't need to read them for the magical readathon, so we're just gonna try to get to them if I have time, and it's just gonna be a lot of fun. So let's dive into it. So the first book that I'm also hoping to read in April is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. I actually haven't heard that many things about this book, but the concept sounds super interesting. It's set in a Japanese fantasy world, and I'm just like, okay, you got me there. I am very excited. It's giving me all the Mulan vibes, even though Mulan is Chinese, but you know, the Asian Mulan badass female warrior vibes. I'm very here for it. By the way, if you guys would like to see a specific reading vlog for this book, I know that when I asked you guys on Twitter, this book got a lot of votes for a reading vlog. So let me know if you'd like to see a specific reading vlog for this book in the comments down below. The next book that I'm hoping to read in April is Prince Charming by Rachel Hawkins. This is actually a republished version of Royals by Rachel Hawkins. And I am living for this cover, you guys. I don't even know with that lighting if you can tell, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I just love this reedition because the old cover was kind of ugly. But ever since I read Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, which by the way, you guys need to read. The book is out on May 15th, and it is one of my favorite book I've read so far this year. So make sure to pre-order it if this is something that sounds interesting to you, but honestly, you guys, best book I've read this year so far. But ever since I've read that book, I've been wanting to read more royal romances, and well, this one just fits this category. So I am very excited to read this one. I've heard great things about it, and I know there's a companion novel for it that comes out in May, so I just thought that this was the perfect time to read this before the next book comes out. Next, I'm hoping to read one book by Taylor Jenkins Reid. There's been a lot of hype surrounding this author, especially with the release of Daisy Jones and the Six recently, and last year she was the author of the year with The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So I finally decided to cave in and buy some of her books. So I bought 3 of her books, including Evelyn Hugo. But I don't want to read Evelyn Hugo first because I don't want to be disappointed with her other work. I've been told that Evelyn Hugo is her best novel so far, so I should probably keep that one for last since I don't want to compare everything else that she's written to Evelyn Hugo, which I agree with. So I ended up buying One True Loves and Maybe in Another Life, both by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I don't know which one I'll be reading yet. If you guys have read either of these, let me know which one you think I should start with. Personally, both sound really interesting. I think this one appeals to me a bit more, but I've also heard great things about this one. So let me know what you think I should start with, but I'll try to read either one of these this month. Next is a contemporary, because of course I have to read at least one contemporary because it's me and I need my contemporaries. And the one that I chose this month is Always Never Yours by Amélie Wimberly. This is told to be like a Shakespeare-inspired contemporaries, and I feel like we don't really get that. So I'm just very excited to dive into this one. I think that this includes like a Romeo and Juliet kind of storyline, so I'm very excited about that. And I love this cover. It's super pretty, and I've heard great things about this book as well, so I'm just very excited. Oh, there's actually 2 authors for this book. It's Amélie Wimberly and Austin Sigmund Broca. Sorry about that, I didn't know. The next book is the next installment in one of my favorite series, and that book is Mother Knows Best by Serena Valentino. You guys know how much I love the Villain series. I think I've mentioned it a couple of times on my channel already, But if you haven't read it, honestly, what are you doing? It's so good. Stop sleeping on it and just read this, people. It's so good. But I read the first 4 books in the series and absolutely loved them. And I just haven't gotten around to reading Mother Knows Best, which is the newest installment in the series, which was released last year in August. I don't know why I haven't read it yet, but I thought it was about time that I finally read this. And Tangled is one of my favorite Disney movies, and I feel like Mother Gothel is a very interesting villain, and I think our backstory is going to be super interesting to read about, so I'm just very excited to be reading this one. I almost picked this for my Ancient Runes exam, but I realized that this was more of a backstory of a villain over like a retelling, so I just thought that it wasn't necessarily the best pick for the retelling. And last but not least, I am hoping to finally be rereading one of my favorite series this month, and that book is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles, and I don't know if I've mentioned it at all on my channel, but Lunar Chronicles is one of my all-time favorite series. I think like it might be my favorite series of all time, which I know it's saying a lot, but I just love these characters so much, and I've been wanting to reread the series for a while because it's been a while since I've read it. I just want to dive back into this world and reunite with these characters, and I'm just I need to reread this. And this is a retelling of Cinderella, but set in a sci-fi post-apocalyptic world. So in this book, we're following Cinder, who is a cyborg. She's half human and half robot, which sets her apart in this world. Cyborgs are seen as below humans, and Cinder has been very mistreated by her stepmother, and one day she meets this prince. And the story goes from there. You guys know the drill. I almost picked this as well for my Ancient Runes exam, but I just thought that for my readathon, I should focus on reading books that I've never read before, and this one is like not a priority, but I really want to get back into it. So who knows, maybe I'll get to it this month. So if you guys can guess what video I'm planning on filming with these books, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to see your guesses. Also, if you're participating in the Owls Readathon, let me know in the comments down below and let me know what career you picked. If you guys haven't picked your career yet, just let me know which books you plan on reading for the Readathon. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to give this a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. And I guess that's it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!